notes?
Ma'am, I wrote all the notes.
Okay, that's great. Very good. This is what I was expecting, because whenever we miss class and the other day, if I'll be starting, so of course you cannot relate with the previous things, right? So whenever you miss class, because
Yeah.
of course you have 1 day gap, you don't have continuous class, right? You have gap in between. So make sure that, okay, if you are missing the class today, make sure that you are watching the recording like before coming to the class. Okay, and you always get the recording, but in case you didn't get, so of course just text this to your counselor and I want recording for today's class, so they'll be sharing it with me. Okay, so just do this, because somewhere if you are missing the class, you are responsible for that day, right? So now you are in 11th standard, so you should sorry, right? So you should this. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now let's just start with the next concept, which is basically the consumer equilibrium, this thing, right? Hmm. So basically, we started with the next topic, which is the consumer equilibrium. So first of all, what is consumer equilibrium? So consumer equilibrium refers to a situation in which consumer derive maximum satisfaction, and whatever satisfaction he's driving, his main motive. It's not like that. Okay, you have to eat or you have to consume in continuous way, right? So if you are consuming the things in a continuous way, it should not like that. Okay, I ate dairy milk for 10 rupees, and after eating dairy milk, I'm like, now I'll be eating 5 star, like the chocolate brand. Okay, so you're not going to change it. So there only you will be getting indifference curve. Sorry, but consumer equilibrium. Now the concept is, ma'am, how we will get to know that this is consumer equilibrium. So see, in the previous class, this is basically the ordinal approach, right? In the previous class, we discussed about the things. So, ma'am, what we are going to do, this is your cardinal approach we did there. So cardinal approach there we did MUX equals to PX or MUX upon PX, all that we did, right? Those who were in the previous class, you are aware. But now, as this is your ordinal approach, right? This is your ordinal approach, so you cannot say that that we are going to use the numerical. So here you are going to use both budget line and indifference curve to show the consumer equilibrium. Only with the help of budget line you cannot show consumer equilibrium. Only with the help of consumer indifference curve you cannot show the consumer equilibrium. So you have to take both the things, indifference curve as well as the budget line. Okay. Now the next thing is that, ma'am, how we are going to do this. So remember one thing, students, this is very, very important, because there are high chances you will be getting questions. Okay. So remember, whenever we do this consumer equilibrium through indifference curve and budget line, right? Whenever you are going to do this, so what is going to happen? You have two ways. One is your graphical representation, okay, and one is your simple one. Okay, so you have the format for it, right? So if you are doing the graphical one, so over here, first of all, you will write the condition. There are three conditions, then you will draw the graph, and then you will explain the graph. Okay, so this is the format. But when you are going to simple one, like it's not mentioned that with the help of graph explain this. So what you are going to write, you are going to write the three condition first, and then you are going to explain those conditions. That's it. Explain the conditions. Okay, over here you have to write the three conditions. No need to explain them. Draw the graph. Okay, and after that explain. So this is the format you have to follow. It should not like that, ma'am, it's not written graphical representation. So what should we do? Graphical representation, you are going to follow. You are going to do that in 3 steps. Okay, the first step, this and this going to be similar. Second one, of course, diagram will be there. Third, you have to explain the diagram. You don't have to explain the properties. You have to explain the diagrams, right? And this one, simple one, first write condition and then explain the condition. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if you want to write the format in between, you want to write it the format side by, like for example, this is your notebook. Here only just make a box so that you are clear. In example, if it is written graphical, you're going to follow this format. If it is not written, it just written that explain consumer equilibrium with the help of indifference and this. Or you can get, instead of getting this, they can ask you with the help of ordinal approach. Right, so ordinal means you are not going to use numerical. So this directly means indifference curve and budget line. Okay, so either you will be getting through ordinal approach, or you will be getting, like it will be written that yes, through indifference curve and budget line, you are going to do this. Clear? So you want to write
Yes,
this, or
ma'am.
you are fine? Tell me, you want to write it or
We'll
you are
write.
fine?
We'll write
Just
in
write.
just a minute.
Okay, just write. Okay, everyone done?
Done, ma'am.
Okay, I think everyone is done, right? Labiba, you are also done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, as discussed in the previous class, we discussed this. Only Labiba was there. Okay. So first of all, I'll just explain you if you are going to do the graphical representation. Okay. So coming to graphical representation, what it is? Wait a minute. Okay. Yeah. So basically, you have three conditions. Okay. The first condition, price line should be tangent to the indifference curve, right? Second, indifference curve should be convex to the point of origin. And next, slope of indifference curve, which is MRS, should be equals to the slope of price line, which is this Px upon Py. Okay. So these are the three conditions. So now, first of all, you are going to explain this with the help of graph. So what is graph? Graph is basically a line which is right, and also like this, and this is like this. Okay, so you have to find a point where you are going to get the maximum satisfaction, right? So for example, this is your point. Okay, so here you can see this point E. What is happening? You have to check whether all the conditions are being satisfied or not. So at point E, AF, which is your budget line, is tangent to your indifference curve, right? Second, you can see this indifference curve is convex to the origin. So yes, ma'am, second condition is also being satisfied. Now here you can see this is the slope of this MRS is equals to the price line, right? You can see this is, so it is equals to your price line as well. So yes, ma'am, all the conditions are being satisfied at point E. So this point E is your consumer equilibrium. Clear? Okay. So now we are going to do the simple one, right? So basically we are going to understand the simple one, which is very important. Like either you will be getting the this graphical representation or the other one. So consumer equilibrium, the condition are going to be same, right? So first of all, you will write all the condition, and after that, see. Wait a minute. Yeah. Okay. So now, ma'am, what is basically the thing over here? You can see first condition and second condition, they are very much clear, right? The first and the second condition, they are very much clear to you, right? But over here, what we are going to do, you are going to understand the third one. Okay, what is your first condition? Your first condition is that, tell me, what is your first condition? That the budget line should be tangent to the indifference curve, right? So this is basically the explanation. So how you will explain it? The consumer equilibrium is that the budget or price line should be tangent to the indifference curve. It means that the price ratio of the commodity X and commodity Y should be equal to the marginal rate of substitution of commodity X for commodity Y, right? So how over here, how can you say that this price line is tangent to the indifference curve? So how, ma'am, the consumer equilibrium is that the budget or the price line should be tangent to the indifference curve. What does it mean? It means that the price ratio of commodity X and commodity Y should be equal to the marginal rate of substitution of commodity Y, right? So price ratio is Px upon Py should be equal to your MRS. Clear? First one. Okay. Now, indifference curve must be convex to the origin, right? So yes, ma'am, the indifference curve should be convex to the point of origin. It means that the marginal rate of substitution of commodity X for commodity Y should be diminishing. See, you already know the three things that the shape depends on the slope, right? If it is increasing, if it is constant, it will be straight line. If it is increasing or decreasing, it will be something like that. So over here, if it is convex, so what does it mean? That slope should be diminishing, right? So why your indifference curve should be convex to the origin? This means that marginal rate of substitution. What is marginal rate of substitution? It is the slope of indifference curve, right? So it should be diminishing. Only then you can say that yes, indifference curve is basically convex to the origin. Clear? I'm clear with both the point. Okay. So
Yes,
first
ma'am.
of, okay, good. Now, first of all, what you will do, you will graphical representation we already did in the previous class. So today, what you are going to do, you are going to first of all, okay, just write consumer equilibrium and in bracket, just for your knowledge, just write simple. Okay. So instead of writing graphic, see over here when you did just write graphical representation, and over here just write the simple one. Okay. And then you will don't write the all the things you have already mentioned. Just write that consumer equilibrium will be obtained. Like there are three conditions: first, second, third. Why I am asking you to write it again? Because it will be a revision for you, and you people can recall the things, and you people can learn the things for the better understanding. Right. So at equilibrium point, the condition are this. Clear? First write this, and after that you will write the explanation of condition. So first explanation is given, second explanation is given, right? Yes, no students. Okay. So just quickly do it. Just write consumer equilibrium and in bracket just for your understanding simple, because in in exam hall they won't be asking you write in simple way, right? For your understanding, just write it down, and after that I'll scroll it down. Just write the explanation and you will write both the point, and after that we'll be doing this point is very very important, and you have to do a lot many things, like if MRS, see, of course you can see the here MRS should be equals to px upon py. Now, as being a rational consumer, we can ask that, ma'am, what if MRS is greater than Px upon Py, or MRS is less than Px upon Py, right? It's a general, you can say it's our nature that we will be asking, we will be cross questioning. So for that, we will be explaining the two conditions, that if it is greater or if it is less. Clear? Okay. Only Ritika is getting, or others are also getting? Who
Just
is saying
clear.
yes? Okay. Janab, you are also getting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So quickly write it down, then we'll start.
Done, ma'am.
Others, you are also done? Okay. So now, first of all, you will write the explanation, right? So explanation of condition 1, this, write it down, and then the second. Others done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now the second condition. Done, students? Okay, others, you are also done?
Done, ma'am.
Okay. So now let's just quickly move to your third condition, which is basically the third condition was your MRS should be equals to your ratio of prices, right? So ma'am, what is MRS? You already know it's the slope of indifference curve, right? And it should be equals to basically ratio of prices means MRA. So slope of indifference curve should be equals to the slope of budget line, right? Now the as being a consumer, we are like, ma'am, what if MRS is greater than your price ratio PX upon PY? Or if it is like MRS is greater than PX upon less than PX upon PY, right? So what is like that? So see, over here first you have to understand, ma'am, what is MRS and what is this MRE, which is price ratio. MRE is basically also the slope of budget line. So it means to obtain one more unit of X, the consumer is willing to sacrifice more unit of Y. See, MRS is basically marginal rate of satisfaction, right? So MRS, just remember one thing, MRS is basically willing to sacrifice. Willing to sacrifice, and this is a market price. What market is offering, right? For example, you are in the shop and you somewhere like this dress, right? Though you know this dress is for 10 rupees, but right now, due to the tourist attraction place, they are charging you 20 rupees. Okay, so what is happening here? You see, you also know that you will be getting this dress for 10 rupees at other place, right? But somewhere you are like so attracted for this dress that you want this dress like right now only. So what is happening over here? You are willing to pay more, right? You want to pay more than the market price, though the market price is 10, which you already know, but you are willing to pay more, right? So here this is the situation that you are willing to make more as market is demanding. If market is demanding 10 rupees, but you are willing to pay 20 rupees, right? And over here you for example, sometimes there are goods, right, which are like, for example, they are for 10 rupees itself, but you don't like them, so you don't want to invest over there, right? Here market is demanding, you it is not that product is not giving you satisfaction. So somewhere if they'll be giving that product for 5 rupees only also, you won't be purchasing it, right? Because it's choice now. Sometimes we like something, sometimes we don't like something. So it's not like that we are not liking something and because they are giving us discount, so we'll purchase it. Definitely not, right? So here you are not willing to pay more than the like whatever the market is offering, right? The price is high, but you are not willing to pay more. So this should be the scenario. Now let's just understand it one by one. Like just remember, this is willing to pay and this is alag thing. Okay. Now see, if MRS is greater than price ratio, it means to obtain one more unit of X, the consumer is willing to sacrifice more unit of Y than what the market requires, right? So if it means that you want to take one more dress, right? So in order to take one more dress, you are willing to pay more unit of Y, right? You are willing to pay more, right? So it means, what does this scenario mean? It means to obtain one more unit of X, the consumer is willing to sacrifice more unit of Y than what market requires. See, market requirement is 10 rupees, right? But right now they are charging you higher, but you are ready for that because you want that product, somewhere you like that product, right? So in other words, what we can see, consumer is willing to pay price which is higher than the market price. Why? Because he values X more than the market values it. Right, so for in market it is for 10 rupees, but for you, as you like that product, you are like it is more valuable to you. So as he, instead of he, you will be writing consumer. As consumer buys more of X and less of Y, right? Because he is now attracted toward X and he is willing to sacrifice more unit of Y. So now, as he will buy more of X and less of Y, what will happen? MRS will fall till it becomes equals to price ratio, and hence consumer will get the equilibrium. Clear? Others?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the opposite one, it means to obtain one more unit of X, the consumer is willing to sacrifice lesser unit of Y. He don't want to spend much money. Here, he was willing to sacrifice more unit of Y, but he is now willing to sacrifice lesser unit of Y. Now, instead of he, you will write consumer is willing to pay a price which is lower than the market price. If market, you didn't like something, so if market is offering you, sir or ma'am, I will be giving you this product at 10 rupees, you are like, no, if you want to give it give this product at 5, then give it, others it's okay. right? So consumer is willing to pay a price which is lower than the market price, right? It induces him to reduce the consumption of X and increase the consumption of Y. So we are talking about X and Y here. So what will he is doing? He is valuing the X product more, so he will purchase more. But here he will reduce the consumption of X because he don't value that product, right? And increases the consumption of Y. So MRS begin to rise. Okay, when you consume something, MRS will fall, but when you don't consume something, MRS will increase. So here MRS begin to rise till it become equals to the price ratio. Hence consumer acquires the equilibrium position. Clear? Okay. Now, first of all, as you know, this is the explanation. So first of all, we understand one more thing. Over here, see, you know you have two goods, right? So assuming that the consumer wants more of X in place of Y, then MRS is the rate at which consumer is willing to sacrifice. So first of all, you will write you will write explanation of this. So you will write MRS. What is MRS? It is the rate at which consumer is willing to sacrifice unit of Y to obtain one more unit of X. Okay. And what is MRE? MRE is the rate at which consumer has to sacrifice Y units to obtain one more unit of X. Clear? Okay. Clear? MRS he will be
Yes, ma'am.
sacrificing. Yeah, MRS consumer will be sacrificing, willing to sacrifice more unit of Y in order to obtain here. But here consumer has to sacrifice, right? Because MRE is basically the budget line. So here it is like has to. And after that you will write this. And after that here only when you will write explanation, you will first write this. MRS equals to ratio of prices. Okay, ratio of prices. Okay, and after that here you itself you will write MRS, this one, MRS and this. Okay, and next you after that you will write this MRS and MRE. Clear? Done, guys? Got the point? How you have to write? First of all, you have to write explanation of third condition. Then you will write this MRS equals to ratio of prices, and here you will write PX upon PY. Right, and after that you will make two arrows like this, and over here you will write this one first and this second. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, write it down, and after that write it down. What is MRS and what is MRE? Clear?
Done, ma'am.
So I'm also done.
Okay, Janab, you are also done? Okay, everyone's. Okay. So once you wrote this, now you will write this first and second. Okay. The entire thing, first this and the explanation, and this, then the explanation. Instead of he, what you will be writing, you will be writing consumer. Okay.
So I'm done.
I'm also done.
Okay, I think everyone is done, right? Okay. So now, basically, we are done with this chapter. Okay. So, what I will be doing, I'll be taking your test on Tuesday, Thursday. Okay. No, 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 not on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday itself. I'll be taking your test for not for the entire chapter. I'll be taking your test for this indifference curve, right? From indifference curve itself, indifference curve plus this consumer equilibrium through indifference curve and the budget line. Is it clear? Two concepts, two topics I'll be covering in that chapter, in that test. Is it fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and nobody will absent themselves, right? Because until and unless you don't see, right now I'm not giving you the entire chapter, right? I'm just giving you a few portions. So I expect you people that if I'm teaching you, that you people are, you just need revision for that, right? If you'll revise, if you'll learn, definitely you'll learn everything. So I'm expecting the same thing in this test. So I'm just giving you a few portions of the entire chapter, right? Because everybody will take test. So I'm expecting the same thing in this test as well. Clear? Yes, I think, right? Students done? I think clear? Students, am I audible?
Ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. Because I am at poor network place, so I thought maybe I'm not audible. So you should respond. Okay. Now we are going to do few questions. See here. Starting from the initial situation of a consumer equilibrium, if price of the commodity rises, where will the consumer equilibrium be determined? Right? So where they will, of course, you already know the where they will like determine the consumer equilibrium, where the satisfaction is equals to the price ratio, right? Px upon py. And see over here, these are the mixed question of the entire chapter. So we'll be discussing. I'll be discussing 2 or 3 questions. After that, I will give you 5 minutes to revise the indifference curve and other things. And if you have any question before your test, you can ask me. Clear? Okay. So this is basically the TU questions. I just wanted to know few things. Wait a minute. I'll just see. These type of questions are very much important. This a consumer consumes 2 goods and his income is px. This 50. So px equals to rupees 8, right? And py equals to rupees 5. So you have to do these things. 4 units of x and 3 units of y, right? So if he will purchase 4 units of x and 3 units of y, what will be the number, right? So you already know the formula p1 upon p1 x1 plus p2 y2 y equals to your income. So this, and similarly here you have to change the quantity. Clear? So you'll get it 32 plus 15. So this is what? So yes, no, he cannot purchase it. Over here, yes, he can purchase it. And similarly, px upon py should be equals to mrs. So 8 upon 5 is 1 upon 6. So your mrs is 1 upon 6. These questions, see this one. If a consumer has monotonic preferences, can she be indifferent between the bundle 10, 8 and 8, 6? Can you please think about this monotonic preferences? Over here, we discussed 2 conditions. That first condition that it should be this, and second condition it should be this. So just tell me this question, everyone. Just read it and refer your notes. Just check your monotonic preference part. Over there were 2 conditions, right? So what you have to do basically, you have to check those 2 conditions whether they are fitting in this or not. Okay, who is going to answer me? You can give it a try. Yes, no. Okay, no need to explain. Just tell me your answer. Yes or no. Labiba, what do you think?
Sir, for
Your answer is no or yes?
sir, I think it is yes.
Okay. Janab? Janab, what do you think? It's yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ritika? Okay, yes. Okay. Let's just check. You already wrote the two conditions for monotonic preference. Yes or no? I think you have that notes. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So over here, your one bundle is 10 and 8. Right? 10 and 8. And other one is 8 and 6. So over here, monotonic preferences means that you should get. So see, if a consumer has monotonic preference, can she be indifferent between this and this? Right? So see, the first bundle is this. So now, can she choose this one or this one? It's going to be same or it should be different, right? So it's like that. No, ma'am, they cannot be indifferent between this. Why? Because see, this is your first bundle. You have to compare it with the second bundle. So over here, you are getting more of it, more of both the good. You are getting no, yes. This is your first. You are going to compare it with second one. So over here, it is 10 and it is 8. It is more or it is less? Less. And here it is 8 and here 6. It is more or less? Less, right? So first condition, no ma'am, it is not satisfying the first condition. Now coming to second condition, it was like you should at least be more of one good and not less of other good. So over here, it is more of any good? No, I think. Right? It is not more, na? It's all only less. So over here, see, no. Since she has monotonic preference, she will prefer 10 to 8 to 8 to 6. As the bundle 10 to 8 has more of both the goods. So she cannot be indifferent in between these two because 10 to 8 is giving more satisfaction. So she will be choosing 10 to 8. Why she will be choosing this one? Right? Indifference means that whether she choose this or this, she should be okay with both the things, but both of them are giving equal satisfaction. But here you can see this one, it's less than this. So of course, ma'am, the answer is no. Since she has monotonic preference, she will prefer 10 to 8 bundle to 8 to 6 as the bundle has more of both the goods. Clear?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you'll write this question and after that you'll write the answer.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Now the next thing over here. See this one. I hope you can see my screen. So I need to keep it very. This one you can see example 16, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the question is a consumer has monotonic preference. Rank her preference. So these are three options. You have to rank them, and then I'll ask you how you're going to rank it. Done, girls? Okay. So see, let's just rank them. Okay. So you can see it is 10 and 10, 9 and 9. So over here, you are getting more of both in this one, right? More of both the goods. So here, this will be your first. And here, this one. You are getting more of one, right? So this will be your second preference. And here, the third one. First, second, and third. Clear? So the consumer has monotonic preference. You are going to take, you are going to keep in mind the things that which are like the first rank, second rank, and third rank, right? So accordingly, you will be preparing it. Okay. So over here, you can see the first one, the second one, and the third one, right? So you are accordingly going to mark it accordingly. Clear? So you'll write the question, and after that, you'll write the answer.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, girls, you are done. So you just have to keep the things